Stephanie Jenkins, who goes by the Resilient Jenkins online, recently made a big announcement that initially seemed like a wholesome family gesture. She said she was planning to take her kids to urban air for a birthday celebration, a typical fun outing that many parents would likely consider a treat for their children.
This is the closest thing I get to alone time, when Drew takes the kids for school and the two younger babies are still asleep. It's my breathing moment. And I don't mean that negatively. I'm an introvert, and every now and again I need to relight my introvert candle, if you will. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, and good night. Today is our older son's birthday. I had Drew pick up some cupcakes for him to bring to his class and share with his classmates, because I know all my kids love doing that. When he gets back from dropping the kids off at school, we're going to head to the store and pick up some presents for him. We didn't really have like the best place to hide it, so we're doing it really last minute. And then we'll pick up some kind of cake or something. Now, I didn't broadcast it when we did Bubba's birthday, just because we were just like freshly homeless, and we just kind of kept it to the family, what we did. But this time we're going to share a little bit more of how we celebrate our older son's birthday. And then the plan is to, since our kids' birthdays are so close together, I still wanted to do something kind of bigger, give them something really memorable. So I want to take them up to a place up in Vancouver called Urban Air. And I'm not going to give the details of like when we're doing that, because trolls. But yeah, that's going to be something we do to celebrate all of their birthdays. And that's a place they've been asking to go to for like over a year now. They saw it on a YouTube ad and they were like, can we go to Urban Air? So I've been planning this out for literally a year, just trying to figure out when I could maybe possibly afford to put it in our memories. And I think I'm there. I think I finally did it. And not that I need to add this, but I'm going to. It's not anybody's business what's in our pocket. Of course, we're saving to get better housing, but we're not going to jump into something that's not permanent. In the meantime, our kids deserve memories. They deserve to have things that bring them joy in this time. Okay, bye.
At first glance, it seemed like a simple and sweet idea, just a mom wanting to do something nice for her kids. However, when you take a closer look at everything surrounding this announcement, it starts to feel a lot more like a calculated public relations move than a heartfelt motherly gesture. The truth is, this isn't just some last-minute idea Stephanie had to surprise her kids. It's been over a year now that her children have been asking for this outing. Over 12 months, they've been repeatedly asking for the chance to go to Urban Air, a place they've been excited about. They've been promised this trip time and time again, only to have it fall through every single time. In the meantime, Stephanie and her husband Drew have had no issue spending money on themselves. We've seen them purchase new gaming chairs and luxury video games comfort items for themselves, while their kids' simple wish to go on a fun outing remained ignored. This creates a disturbing pattern, especially when you consider that money clearly isn't the issue here. A trip to Urban Air wouldn't break the bank for them, yet it seems like the kids' needs and desires have been put on the back burner for an entire year. This lack of priority and attention to their children's needs raises red flags. So, when Stephanie suddenly announces the trip just as her parenting is being questioned publicly, it starts to look like a move to repair her image rather than an authentic act of love and care. The timing of this announcement is what makes it feel calculated. It's no coincidence that she's finally remembering her kids' request for Urban Air when her social media followers and the public have started criticizing her parenting. This timing makes the gesture feel less like a spontaneous act of motherhood and more like a strategic attempt to shift the narrative about her. Stephanie presents this trip as something big and meaningful, saying it's all about making memories and spending quality time with her kids. But when you dig deeper, you realize the whole presentation seems a bit too perfect, a bit too rehearsed. It's almost as if the trip wasn't really about fulfilling her kids' desires, but rather about fulfilling an image she wants to project to the world.
So yesterday was our son's 9th birthday, and we did what we could to create some magic for our kiddo. Birthdays don't look the same in every household, so let's keep that in mind before we go to a judgmental state on this video, okay? Thank you. See, so our kiddos, they're going to be overjoyed if Drew and I put the most effort we can into getting the gifts that they asked us for. Our kiddos love our cooking, so a nice home-cooked meal is going to be a win-win for them every time. And most importantly, family time. We are a tight-knit family, and we enjoy our time as a family. So with that said, we started our day yesterday by going to Fred Meyer and getting the gifts that he asked us to. Then we stopped at Dollar Tree and got some decorations to decorate his bed before he showed back up from school. And once he got home, he got right into his presents, and then we went right outside and had some family time. And then we had our family dinner.
What's even more questionable is the secrecy surrounding the trip. Stephanie made sure to mention that she wouldn't be sharing the exact date of the outing, citing the internet and her need for privacy. This is strange. If this trip is truly about her kids and creating a special memory for them, why all the secrecy? Why not share the details with her followers? especially when she's presenting this outing as a heartwarming tradition. This behavior only adds to the feeling that the entire thing is being done for show, not for the kids' benefit. It's also telling that, when Stephanie talks about the trip, she emphasizes how hard it's been to afford it. She claims that she's been trying to save for the outing for a year, which doesn't add up when you do the math. A family of 5 going to urban air wouldn't cost more than $100 for the entire day, especially since only 3 of her children would even need tickets. The other 2 are still young enough to likely get him for free or at a discounted rate. So, to say she's been trying to afford a simple outing for an entire year seems a bit far-fetched. It's hard to believe that, after all this time, a trip that costs a mere $100 was the breaking point. Stephanie's excuses start to feel less about the financial burden and more about deflecting attention from her own poor priorities. The money she's spent on herself and her family over the past year doesn't line up with her claims that she couldn't afford such a simple outing for her kids. It's clear that there's been a bigger issue at play here. Stephanie and Drew have been more focused on their own comfort and indulgence than on giving their kids the attention and experiences they've been asking for. And now, when their parenting is being publicly scrutinized, they suddenly remember their kids' requests and rush to fulfill it. What makes this even more disheartening is the fact that these kids have been waiting for this trip for over a year. They've likely hoped, dreamed, and maybe even lost faith in the idea of going to urban air. So, when Stephanie announces this trip, it doesn't feel like a heartfelt gesture to make up for lost time. It feels like a well-timed distraction, meant to quiet the growing criticism and show the public that she's a good mom, despite all the evidence to the contrary. When you take everything into account, the timing, the secrecy, the excuses, and the lack of genuine attention to her children's needs, it's hard to ignore the fact that this entire situation has been crafted with optics in mind. It's not about creating a moment of joy for her children. It's about shaping her image on social media, presenting herself as the loving, attentive mother she's been trying to convince everyone she is. The fact that she's only now acting on a promise her kids have had for over a year, just as her public image is in jeopardy, doesn't feel genuine. It feels like damage control. For over a year, her kids have been asking to go to urban air. That's 12 months of patiently waiting for something that seems like such a simple request, but it never materialized. Meanwhile, Stephanie and Drew have been happy to splash out on themselves new gaming chairs, pricey PS5 games, even Drew's Apple Watch. All of these things add up to a significant amount of money, yet somehow, they've been unable to afford a fun day out for their kids.
You're telling me that the Brazilian Jenkins man has a new Apple Watch, but he doesn't think to go ahead and get his kids into a more stable place? How can you go to the Apple store or wherever you went to buy your Apple Watch and say, let me go buy this Apple Watch? Forget about my kids. You know, I get it. They're sleeping in a homeless shelter or motel, whatever it is. Forget about that. I need my Apple Watch. Why do you have the Apple Watch? Is it to track your steps or your actions and you're playing on the PS5? I'm not being mean. Like, this is serious. Like, the serious question. Like, what made you think that spending an Apple Watch that probably costs $500, maybe $600? I don't know exactly the model he got, but if it's a brand new one, it could be about $500, $600. And you think that's okay? How can you sleep at night knowing that your kids don't have a stable home and they're just sleeping in a homeless shelter?
It doesn't make sense, especially when money wasn't the issue. Choosing to prioritize comfort and luxury for themselves over their children's simple request speaks volumes.
Are we just going to ignore this little fun fact about the Brazilian Jenkins? How is it that they are always cooking exceptional dishes? Let me show you. Out of their motel shelter room, they are cooking steak, they are cooking shrimp, barbecue chicken, and other dishes like this. They created their whole brand on TikTok basically being resilient and in poverty, which a lot of people are starting to see right through them. This includes the fact that they're making at least 4K or more a month, in addition to having at least 3 iPads or 3 tablets, 3 televisions in one room, getting a brand new car, and Stephanie Jenkins cooking these meals that are hundreds and hundreds of dollars. Not just in one meal, because a lot of people are going to say, well, that doesn't cost $100. No. I mean, buying for a family of 7 when you cook like this every single time while people that work 2 jobs, even 1 job, are eating sandwiches and macaroni, something's not adding up. Go ahead and comment and tell me what you think, because that is wild. My biggest, side-eye moment.
The timing of this urban air announcement also raises some red flags. After months of neglecting their children's wishes, suddenly, Stephanie remembers urban air when criticism of their parenting is at an all-time high. It feels more like an attempt to salvage their public image rather than a genuine act of care for her children. If this really was about making her kids happy, why the secrecy? She specifically mentioned not sharing the date because of trolls, but if this outing was truly about making memories with her children, why hide details? It feels more like a way to avoid being called out when the trip inevitably doesn't happen. Let's talk about the money side of things. Stephanie claims they couldn't afford the urban air outing for their kids, yet they've somehow found the money for a new 2024 VW Jetta. They chose to get rid of their family van, which could easily fit all 7 of them, just because it needed some servicing. Instead of paying a few $100s to fix the van, they dropped thousands on a new car that only fits 5 people comfortably. That's not just poor financial judgment, it's neglecting the basic safety and comfort of their kids. The fact that they would prioritize a new car over their children's well-being is incredibly telling. And let's not forget, they didn't just buy any car, but a compact one that makes family outings far more difficult. When you factor in the new car, the lack of proper planning for the urban air trip, and their ongoing financial priorities, it's clear that they're not focused on what's best for the kids. It's about what looks good for the cameras. A quick family trip to urban air won't make up for the instability these kids are living with. They're still stuck in a motel, with no real sense of home or stability. A fun outing to a trampoline park can't erase the reality of living in a cramped, temporary space. Real memories are made in places where kids feel safe and secure, not in a motel room where they're constantly on edge wondering where they'll end up next. The bottom line is this: when Stephanie talks about saving for permanent housing but simultaneously plans recreational outings, it doesn't add up. She's treating basic needs like housing as something they'll get to when they can, while prioritizing fleeting experiences like a trip to urban air. But no matter how much they try to distract from it, the fact remains that the kids need stability, not an Instagram-worthy trip. The message they're sending is clear: their own comfort and image are far more important than the kids' well-being. What these children truly deserve is not just a series of memory-making outings posted online. They need stability, they need a real childhood, a childhood that doesn't involve being constantly moved from one motel room to the next while their lives are broadcasted for internet sympathy. What Stephanie calls memories aren't joyous moments or milestones. They're glimpses into the struggle and pain of a family living without consistency. We see kids sitting on motel beds, eating meals in cramped spaces, and crying while their parents go live on social media. These aren't memories, they're documented moments of hardship, shared under the guise of creating something meaningful. This isn't just heartbreaking for the kids now, but it sets them up for future trauma. One day, they'll grow up and look back at these posts, seeing their childhood splashed across social media for views, without ever being asked for their consent. These are not moments of family pride, they're traces of neglect, packaged in hashtags for likes. And the more Stephanie continues to share these personal moments online, the more it's clear that she's using her kids' struggles to fuel her own internet presence, rather than protecting their privacy or emotional well-being. And now, Stephanie is hinting at taking her kids to Disney, one of the most expensive, extravagant trips a family can plan. The sheer audacity of this promise is hard to ignore, especially when she's claimed for months that she couldn't scrape together enough to take them to a more affordable urban air outing. Disney trips cost thousands, yet she's been unable to manage a simple outing for her kids. The disconnect is jarring. It feels like an attempt to pacify her audience, to make them think that something grand is coming for her family, even though she's failed to deliver on much simpler promises. If they've managed to scrape together the idea of a Disney trip, why couldn't they make urban air happen, a place that's much more affordable? It raises the question of what's really going on here. If Disney is on the table, then the entire excuse about not being able to afford urban air crumbles. It's not about finances, it's about what Stephanie chooses to prioritize. What her kids need isn't a trip to Disney. They need stability, a safe place to live, a space to call home, not a never-ending cycle of motel rooms. A home where they can feel secure and loved, not just shuffled around from place to place. A day at urban air shouldn't be seen as a special reward. It should be a basic experience of childhood joy. Instead, it's been made into a rare, almost unattainable treat. So, the big question is, will Stephanie actually follow through on this Disney promise, or is it just another distraction? Given her track record of making promises that don't materialize, it's hard to trust that this is anything more than another flashy announcement meant to keep her followers engaged. In the end, these kids deserve more than just a few Instagram-worthy moments. They deserve a real, stable life, one that isn't broadcasted for views. If you've made it this far, what do you think? Will Stephanie deliver, Or is this just another empty promise meant to keep the internet at bay? And that's a wrap for today's video. What do you think about Stephanie's latest promises and her track record? Do you think she'll actually follow through? Or is it just another one of her attention-grabbing stunts? Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you never miss out on the latest updates. Until next time, take care, and I'll see you in the next video.